All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Overlooked and Underrated podcast where we debate about sports and music. But today, we have a really, really special guest from Wild 'N Out. We got Jacob Williams on here. Jacob, go ahead and introduce yourself for me one time.
Hey, what's up? It's Jacob Williams from Wild 'N Out and stand-up comedy YouTube called Unemotional Roller Coaster. You might have seen me on America's Got Talent or The Late Show with Colbert or Comedy Central. And yeah, good to be here.
Hey, man, I'm really glad that you're here, man. I really appreciate you. Much, really grateful. So, first, I want to start off with who is Jacob Williams? You know, like the personality that you give out, right, when you do shows and when you're on Wild 'N Out. Is that really you?
Sure. Yeah. So who is Jacob Williams?
Yeah.
A personality on Wild 'N Out and other stand-up shows. Yeah, I think it's definitely a version of myself. I'm not like that amazing of an actor, so I don't think I could be someone else if I wanted to. Be myself on stage, whether I'm doing be a version of myself, even if I'm doing improv on Wild 'N Out or at an improv show, or if I'm doing stand-up. Obviously, I'll like exaggerate some punchlines for jokes for comedic effect, but generally, the opinions I have or the premises that I bring up in my stand-up or the persona is pretty close to how I am in real life. So yeah.
And I forgot to add this to the question as well. What are things that people don't know about you that people probably should know about you?
Well, I think a lot of people think of me as a comedian. They don't know that I'm actually an amazing singer and dancer. That
Really? You can sing?
No, I'm just kidding. But an audio podcast, or is this visual as well?
I had like the visual part. I have it on YouTube, but it's mostly audio for the most part. Like on all the platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc.
Oh, so the visual will be on YouTube, because I feel like you're facing away from me. So
this is just where the microphone is.
Oh, is there any way to move it so I can see you?
Nah, because the soundproof part is around the front of the microphone anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just kind of weird because I'm like.
All right, so I'm sure.
Which I understand. A lot of people feel that way.
So, with what happened between Will and Chris, you know what happened, right? I'm sure you do.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Who's that?
So Will Smith and Chris Rock. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars.
I've never heard of either of those people. So,
so basically, what happened at the Oscars is that Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett, Will Smith's wife. Then Will Smith went on stage and slapped him. And so, just wondering, have you ever said a joke? Like, have you ever kind of got on some people in the audience, made a joke about them here and there, right? You ever done that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess my comedy style, most of the time I like make fun of myself. So I guess I've been lucky that I don't usually offend people too much. I have had like tough audiences. I've had hecklers. I've had someone like throw like an orange or an apple at me. I've had someone like run towards me while booing me. Because there was like no seating for the audience, and it was on like a yacht that people were partying, and then they just turned off the music and they're like, "We're doing comedy," but no one wanted that, and so they were just not happy.
Wow.
There was no seating, so it looked like a rap battle or something. But it was a whole thing. But yeah, I've done a lot of tough shows, and I don't think anyone's ever like physically assaulted me or anything, but which I'm happy about. But I mean, even last weekend I had a show where people were talking. There were two people that were talking the whole time, and the rest of the audience was really mad at them. And I tried doing like crowd work with them and then making fun of them, but then they kept talking after that, and they ended up getting kicked out by security.
I'm crying. So, go ahead. So, like, how did you get into comedy?
Well, I got into comedy at the beginning of college. I was already a really big fan of comedy my whole life, but then I was kind of quiet and shy in like middle school and high school, and so I didn't really think I had a shot at doing comedy. Honestly, I always thought I was too introverted, I guess. But then the beginning of college was the first time I saw like I'd watched a lot of comedy on my own, but then it was the first time I saw like an open mic where someone was trying out comedy like for the first time. My friend in my class was doing it my freshman year, And once I saw that, I realized like, oh, this is like something you can do at a beginner level. Like you don't have to be amazing right away, like the people I saw on TV. So I up for an open mic, and I had some friends in the audience, so it ended up going well. Even though I was terrified ahead of time, I was glad I did it, and I kind of got addicted to it right away. So
Mm.
I just wanted to like keep doing comedy and like, just try to get on stage at as many like open mics as I could, and eventually that turned into like doing real shows and doing comedy full time a little bit after college.
Okay, because I know, like, sometimes I be making jokes with people, and I be like, man, I just want to try stand up comedy just one time for like five
Yeah,
minutes and see what it's like. I just want to try just a quick open mic just for one time.
yeah,
Just see what it's like.
you should definitely do it. Yeah, I recommend it to anyone that wants to try it because you'll
Hmm.
never know. You'll know right away once you do it if you like doing it or not. But you might regret it if you don't do it. So yeah.
And so, who is your biggest influence in comedy? Like, who do you really look up to?
That's a good question. I really like a lot of people. I mean, Chris Rock, actually, I met one time because I was doing
Mm.
an album release show. He probably doesn't remember this, but I was doing a comedy album, and it was actually the week, and so everything was closed down because it was during the pandemic. But I was doing this rooftop show because it was outdoors and everything. And then he was actually working on his SNL monologue. So he came and did a set on the show right before me. And so basically, technically, Chris Rock opened up for me, I guess, but,
Mm.
but not really. But work on his material for the monologue. And he's so funny to watch. So I've seen him do stand up a few times since then, too, around New York.
Mm.
But yeah, I love his stuff. Aside from maybe some of his recent Oscar stuff. Uh, and I love Mike Birbiglia is a really funny storytelling comedian who tells really personal stories, has some Netflix specials. I like his stuff a lot.
Mm.
And Amy Schumer, who was at the Oscars, and Wanda Sykes, they're both really funny. I'm just naming people I watched in the last
Mhm.
8 hours, but
You said the last 8 hours?
really do enjoy. So yeah.
So, okay, so now that you told us how you got into comedy and who you look at, who influences you. So, what makes you different as a comedian? What makes you stand out from other comedians, like the ones that you just named?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, people get me confused with Wanda Sykes all the time. We were basically like the same person, but no, I think I don't. I just try to be myself. Honestly, I don't know how much I stand out from other comedians or not, but I just try to be myself, which involves sometimes saying like self-deprecating, deadpan one-liner jokes, but that are semi-autobiographical about my life. But yeah, I don't know. I just try to talk about awkward moments that I've experienced or I think might be relatable. So yeah.
One thing about you, what makes you really funny, I remember seeing you on Wild 'N Out because when I see you on Wild 'N Out, like the games I really like to see you in was what's the pickup line game? What's that called?
I think it was called Let Me Holla.
Yeah, that's it. Let me holla. And breaking up is hard to do. Those are my two favorite games seeing you in because you had like the best lines, whether it was corny, funny, or just funny, funny. You always had the best lines. Yeah, there was this one line you had said, and I was like, I am stealing that. But this was so long ago, I cannot remember the line. But
Okay.
but now to think about it, I don't think I ever used it. I had a chance to use any of the lines, but they were great lines though.
I
Really.
never used them in real life. It was just comedically for the show. No one's ever gone on a date with me in real life, unfortunately. But I'm glad you enjoyed that.
So okay, so how did you get on Wild 'N Out?
How did I get on Wild Out? Well, it is pretty surreal to be on there, and especially that I've gotten to do 11 seasons, I think now, which is pretty crazy.
11. It's been that long?
Yeah, I think, and there were a couple of seasons I even sat out because they just have so many cast members. But I'm just amazed that I've gotten to do it that long and that many times, and including the current season, which is still airing. So I'm excited about that. But basically, the way it started was actually when I was still in college, I was doing a lot of comedy. I ended up like spending some time in Chicago during college to do more stand up. And I getting a video from the comedy club on state and a comedy club in Wisconsin, which is really good. And basically, I used that video to submit to an online comedy contest where I actually won a chance to open up for Nick Cannon at his Showtime special in Vegas. So at the time, that was
Oh.
exciting to me because I was still in college, but I got this free trip to Vegas, got to perform in this big theater while he was shooting a special, or like to warm up the crowd before it. And he was really nice to me then. And then actually, about a year after college, I did America's Got Talent, and I ended up making it to the semifinals. So I performed on the show 4 times, and Nick Cannon was hosting at the time, so he was like really nice to me there too. And then honestly, after America's Got Talent, I was like, oh, I felt like a little depressed because I like wasn't really happy with how my last set on the show went. I was worried that might have been like my last chance as a comedian. So, but then I just by luck, I guess Nick Cannon had really enjoyed my stand up, and so he kind of convinced the other people at Wild Now to give me a chance to. They flew me in for a couple of auditions. The first one, I did a bunch of like characters and jokes and like played some games that they threw at me and stuff. And then the next one was like kind of a callback where I interacted with the other people that they called back to the audition. So we kind of collaborated on the games, and it was kind of like rehearsing for an episode or something where we were playing the games together. And luckily it went okay enough that they gave me a chance on the show. And I guess it went well enough on there that they brought me back for a bunch of seasons. So yeah, I definitely got just super lucky to be in the right place at the right time. But I also had been like doing a ton of stand up and improv, just trying to perform every night as many times as I could. So I guess that helps prepare for it too. But yeah, it's been a really fun experience. So I'm glad I've gotten to do it.
You just reminded me of a joke that you once said on Wild 'N Out. I forgot which game it was, but Nick Cannon has this thing about stand something don't shoot, and then you was like, "No, we told you not don't shoot." Like, get it? Like, not to shoot it.
Oh yeah, he had a stand up.
yeah. No, that was fun. That made me laugh.
So I think his special was called Stand Up Don't Shoot. So I was like, oh, they meant you should have called it like Don't Shoot Your Stand Up Special or something. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so what is the hardest part of like about Wild 'N Out or being on Wild 'N Out? You know,
the hardest part about Wild Now is probably that it's improvised, so you kind of don't know for sure if anything is going to work. Like the good thing is the cast is really supportive and talented, so generally like people can kind of make each other look good, and the audience is really good, so you're kind of set up to succeed in that way. But on the other hand, it's like you're often saying things you've never said before, and also like having to come up with stuff in the moment, and then having some games you have to rhyme with whatever the last person said, and you can't prepare for that. So it's a little stressful sometimes. It's also like super competitive because there's so many talented people, and there's only so many few spots per episode, so you always feel like, oh, I hope I'm doing well enough that I'm holding my own in this talented group. So that part could be stressful, but of course, on the other hand, it's like super fun, and
yeah, definitely. Because I'm not a comedian, but like when looking at it, and then when Nick Cannon is introducing the same freestyle, the best place for freestyle comedy, I'm like, wow, like these people really up here just off the dome type stuff, especially when they do Wild Style. Like that's one of my favorite games. But when they do Wild Style and some of the lines they come up with, I was like, whoa, that was pretty tough, especially if it was off the dome.
Yeah, there's some definitely really talented battle rappers and freestyle. And then I like that it also has a mix of people that are improvisers or like social media personalities, stand-up comedians, actors. So you kind of like get to see how all types of performers can collaborate and stuff, which is fun.
So what is your favorite like Wild 'N Out moment? Like what's most memorable to you?
Honestly, one of my favorite moments is one that I think is going to air on Tuesday, April 5th, unless they just edited it out. But I did a goddamn roast battle on that episode. I think with Fivio, I forgot the name, dang it. But yeah, That was really fun. That hasn't come out yet, but it'll probably, depending on when this comes out, maybe it'll have come out by then. So that was exciting. On a recent episode, I did like a Spider-Man dance that was really fun.
I seen it. I seen that on your Instagram and Mr. Jacob Williams. Y'all go follow him on Instagram at Mr. Jacob Williams. I think Jacob. I don't know if he thinks this, but I think he's overlooked and underrated as a comedian as well. You know, I looked at his following and I was like, what? I was pretty surprised. I think he should have more followers. So if you're listening, go follow Jacob at Mr. Jacob Williams. He is an extremely funny guy, and I think he's overlooked and underrated as a comedian. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm underrated. Please follow me. I'm really struggling and could use all the help I could get.
Oh man. So what's your favorite Wild 'N Out game?
My favorite Wild 'N Out game. It's funny because I don't know exactly because I feel like it kind of changes based on how each one is going at the moment. Because
Mm-hmm.
with improv, like I said, it's so unpredictable that I think every game on the show I've had like really good moments in, and then every game in the show I've probably like bombed or had a joke that didn't do that well in each game too. So I think it really changes day to day. Like the goddamn that I did that's coming out, I'm like really excited about. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then I've had goddams where I'm sure I like wasn't that good in it too. So yeah, honestly, like I don't know, maybe a wild style is fun because it's like you get to say so many types of jokes.
Outside of Wild Style. Yeah, that's it.
Oh
Yeah, outside of Wild Style, because like, I'm pretty sure it's most people's favorite at the end. But outside of that, because for me, it's like
yeah,
Plead the Fifth. I really like Plead the Fifth. Fifth,
yeah.
Talking Spit, Let Me Holla, and Breaking Up's Hard to Do. Those are probably like my four
I
favorite.
like those two. I definitely like, yeah, Plead the Fifth, Let Me Holla, Breaking Up's Hard to Do. I don't, yeah, so it's tough. It's like, I think it just changed it. I like the Vowing Out game where it was like, you're supposed to, there's someone dressed as a bride and you say something related to that. So I was like, I can't make you my wife because I'm married to the game or something like that.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of butchering all my own jokes now. But yeah, I don't know. I guess no, for it just whatever game is going well at the moment. But I really love all the games, honestly.
I will never forget this one time. This wasn't a commercial. I've seen it all the time, and I finally watched the episode. This was like a while ago, like years ago, way before the Rona. This one person asked Nick Cannon, he said, "Do you like your own music?" That had me crying. And then you know what Nick Cannon did? I don't know if you remember, but he ended up
I don't.
pleading the fifth.
Oh, he pleaded the fifth
Yeah.
thing. Then I think his music is really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is
Mm.
recorded, right?
He do.
Yes, I
He
think. Yeah, please bring me back.
he does. He actually does have a few pretty good songs. I think his music is actually pretty overlooked, underrated as well.
Yeah.
So, like the cast members, I'm gonna ask you about the cast members, right? Are
Okay.
they backstage? Are they the same people backstage as they are, like behind the scenes, as they are on stage or on camera, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to think if there's any exceptions, but honestly, I think most people are pretty much
Hmm.
themselves. Like DC Young Fly is just kind of fun
Yeah,
to
'cause
be.
I did want to ask about him. Like, what is
He's
he
got so much
like?
personality. I love hanging out with him,
Mm.
working on the show. But yeah, he's kind of one of those people that's funny all the time, whether the cameras are rolling or not. That's similar to most people on the show. I mean,
Yeah.
people that might be like more turned up on camera or whatever, but generally everyone is like a version of themselves when they're not on camera.
Mm.
So yeah.
And so in turn, now last question about like the personalities. So what is like Nick Cannon like? What is Nick Cannon like? Yeah, that's probably like the only person outside of DC Young Fly that wanted to know like who are they? What are they
Sure.
like?
Nick Cannon is very nice. Like I said, he's like solely pretty much 100% responsible for getting me on the show. So I'm very
Hmm.
grateful for that because he kind of believed in me before anyone else involved in the show did. Because I think a lot of other people, when they were first bringing me up as someone to be a cast member,
Hmm.
why would this random nerdy white guy be on the show? Makes sense at all. Is he going to be like the accountant or something? But so I guess yeah, he's like honestly one of the smartest people I've met. He's like super nice, very in the moment, and I think he's very empathetic. So he cares a lot about everyone on the show and
Hmm.
making other people look good. So he isn't afraid to like take a joke or kind of set other people up to succeed and kind of make sure everyone gets to share the spotlight. And so, yeah, which is not always the case with comedians because it can get really competitive. So I
Yeah,
admire the fact that he's able to collaborate and kind of be generous with giving people opportunities, especially like up and coming comedians. And that kind of
definitely, definitely. Because I'm an athlete, I play sports, and I'm extremely, extremely competitive and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you could probably compare comedy and athletics because it's very limited spots. Well,
yeah, a lot of people think of me as like very athletic. I don't know why you laughed at that. I was trying to be super, but yeah, no.
so, I forgot to ask about this person. What's DJ Direct like? Because he doesn't really talk much. He says something here and there, but he doesn't really talk much.
Yeah, he's really nice. We make fun of him a lot, all the time. But but yeah, he's a really nice guy, and we couldn't do it without him. So we're always happy to have him there.
And do you have any plans outside of Wild 'N Out, right? Like, is there anything you want to do like outside of that, right? And it could be anything.
Sure. I would like to stage a Ocean's 11 style heist where I steal $12 million from businesses across Las Vegas. But other than that, no, I think no, I love doing comedy. So when I'm not doing Wild 'N Out, I do a lot of stand-up comedy. I perform every night, sometimes more than once a night. And so I just want to like keep doing that. Like I said earlier, I think I have a 1 hour self-produced comedy special called Unemotional Roller Coaster on YouTube. It's an hour of stand-up comedy shot at New York. And then it's also the audio version is on stuff like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, everything. So that's out there if people want to check it out. But I'm also working on a kind of a new hour of comedy that I'm developing right now. So I've been touring that at like comedy clubs and colleges and other rooms just to try to, write new material and get it ready to put out there someday. So I'm excited about that. I've actually also been doing like a bunch of classes. Like I'm taking a class on like comedic songwriting right now. I took some music classes and improv classes that I still take occasionally.
So wait, so do you also do like, because I know you do your own stand-up comedy, but do you also do writing for other comedians as well?
I have done that before. Usually it's unofficial. So like with other comedian friends, we'll bounce jokes off each other and I'll help people like punch things up. And then I guess I've written for a couple of things here and there, but that is something I'm interested in. I've written a lot of sketches that I haven't really produced or anything yet, but I'd like to do more stuff like that. I did some kind of improvised sketch stuff with Rebecca Catlin, which is on YouTube. But anyway, yeah. So that's something I definitely enjoy as well. I'd like to explore all kinds of comedy because I really like every part of it, whether it's acting, stand up, improv, musical improv. So I love just trying different things to see how it goes.
So everybody, this is Jacob Williams, and if you're an upcoming comedian, go ahead and listen to what this wise man has to say. So, Jacob, what advice would you give to upcoming comedians?
What advice would I give to up and coming comedians? Well, I guess my only advice would be to maybe, if you haven't done stand up yet, maybe like go to an open mic just to check it out. And like me, you'll probably see how obtainable it is to get started and just sign up. And it's not the end of the world if it doesn't go well or if but basically as long as you're willing to put in the work of just showing up and getting on stage, and then doing that a lot of times, and then also like writing whenever you can, like even if it's just if you think of a funny idea, making a quick note in your phone and then trying it out on stage. But yeah, really just I think a lot of comedians will say this, it's just writing as much as you can and getting on stage as much as you can, and if you do that, then I think it'll definitely pay off over time. So yeah.
Definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. That's great. That's great advice. I know this is a little bit different from the normal episodes that we have where we talk about sports and music, you guys. But I just had to have Jacob on here because we like to shine light on hidden gems, and Jacob is definitely a hidden gem that we shine the light on today. Do you have any a little skit for us? Do you have any jokes for us, or?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Well, we're doing this on Zoom today, which reminds me that for a while I was doing a lot of stand-up shows on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of tough because like I did some shows on Zoom where everyone was muted the whole time. So I was just saying jokes with no response, which was a lot like the first couple years I did comedy. But
What? Yo, I'm
and the
crying.
worst shit online at the end of my set, I was like, this is kind of weird because you guys were muted. This guy's like, actually, we weren't muted. But anyway,
Yo, what? He said we weren't muted. I'm crying.
but yeah, so I'm just glad to be doing shows in person again. But yeah, I also did a lot of like outdoor shows during the pandemic when stuff
Mm-hmm.
was indoors. So like I was doing a show in a park last summer and I was
Mm-hmm.
on the green room, which was a porta potty. But anyway, I came out to do the show. And like I thought the show in the park was going well, and then I realized all the laughter I heard was just people having fun on a picnic.
Yo, what?
Like, yeah, like this lady started clapping, but it wasn't because of my jokes. She was just trying to get her dog's attention. So that's kind of where my career has been at the last couple of years.
Chill.
Um,
Nah, man. But and just for people that's wondering how I met Jacob, right? He went to Savannah. He came here to Savannah State. Did a little comedy show here with two other members of Wild and Out, Mo and Big JJ, right?
yeah,
Big JJ. And before that show, actually, I was just walking. I saw Jay. I was like, I recognized him. I was like, hey, that's Jacob from Wild and Out. And I was like, yo, hey, what's up? And I shook his hand. He was like, oh, hey. And I was like, yo, man, you are hilarious. You be having me dying and crying, laughing, man. And he's like, thanks. I really appreciate it. And I was just like, I was like, yo, he really acts like this in real life.
it's all an act. I'm actually super confident and I have a
Uh-huh.
lot of vocal inflection, but I try to stay in character 24/7. So
Oh man, that's funny. But I really do appreciate your time, man. Once again, this is Jacob Williams from Wild and Out. Y'all give him a follow on Instagram at Mr. Jacob Williams. I really appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
thanks for having me. And by the way, guys, if you're listening, if you're going to be in New York, I have a show at the Barclays Center on April 9th. Also, if you're in Louisville, Kentucky, April 13th, Planet of the Tapes. And I think I have some more college gigs and stuff coming up. All the details are on, like you said, on Instagram at MR Jacob Williams, which is my Twitter and TikTok, or at jacobwilliamscomedy.com. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you. And I hope to see you again sometime.
All right.